I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 451. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. I can hardly believe it when I did this introduction to say this is number 451, my 451st episode that I've done of this podcast, which is almost 6 or 7 years. And for those of you who've been listening for a while, you've kind of heard all my trials and my tribulations because I kind of tell you about what's going on in my life as I try to pass on some wisdom about creating more peace in your mind, in your body, and in your life by learning how to manage your mind by what you put in your mouth. Such a simple little thing, I think. And I also think it's pretty brilliant, if I may say so myself, that I have figured out a way to help you understand why you put food in your mouth when you're not hungry. And that to really be at whatever weight you want to be and to be at peace with it, you first have to be at peace with what you put in your mouth, any food, whatever it is, and really learn how to handle the emotions that drive you to put food in your mouth when you're not hungry, which is called emotional hunger. And I have been figuring out different ways to tell you this, different techniques and tools that I have created over the years to help you with this 451 episodes. I still can hardly believe it. And as we get into the holidays, especially Thanksgiving, for those of you in this country who celebrate it, I think that using the Thinner Peace process, the best time to start it is in a holiday season. Really the best time, because really what I want to teach you is how to believe that you can eat whatever you want. And just because you believe you can eat whatever you want doesn't mean that you're going to eat French fries and chocolate chip cookies all day long just because you have that thought. In fact, I believe that that thought actually frees you from the emotional hunger of wanting these foods when you're not hungry. Not all of it, but a lot of it, because a lot of times these joy foods, that's what I call them, joy foods, meaning it is a food that really usually has no nutritious value, but you enjoy the taste, you like it a lot. And you don't believe that if you have to lose weight, you could eat that. That's what I hear from lots and lots of women over the years. And certainly that was the way I was. So of course, when the holidays came, what I usually did most of the time is, around the Halloween or around the beginning of the Thanksgiving week is usually the time when I would say to myself, you can eat whatever you want, and I'll check back with you in January and we'll get our act together. Kind of that kind of a conversation. And of course, all that led to was more of the same thing, years and years and years, and always wondering why it was so hard to keep my weight off. But now that I'm wiser and I've learned a thing or two, I know that one of the things that frees me and that frees many of my clients is when you can actually adopt this thought that you can eat whatever you want. And I think why a lot of people have trouble with diets, staying on them, is mainly because there's something within that diet or plan that your brain really doesn't believe or really wants to do forever. But can use willpower, stick-to-itness, put handcuffs on, whatever you want to call it, to do it long enough to be able to lose the weight. And the incentive is the weight loss. And once the weight loss is there, things change. And what I want to tell you, I want to give you a quote that I made up, is that the way that you get there is the way that you are going to stay there. And so one of the things that I want to teach you while you're in this thinner peace process is how to believe that you could eat whatever you want. Because when you have that actual thought and it opens up your mind and your heart and your body, it actually frees you from wanting those foods. And I think that's the only way that you can lose weight and keep it off, is when you think that whatever you did to lose the weight, you really believe that you can just keep doing it because it's really what you prefer to do. And most of us would prefer to believe with all of our hearts that we can eat whatever we want, even if we don't have to lose weight, even if we do have to lose weight. Whatever it is, when we can have that thought, it will help us make better decisions. So I think that thought is paramount to getting there. And I also think it's paramount to staying there. And I think sometimes we put very strong concepts on ourselves about things that are just way too hard to do forever. And if that's the case, maybe just don't even start it. If you already feel in your body, if you're going to do something, and you already feel in your body resistance, that's a good sign that this may not be the way. Now, in my thinner peace process, for those of you who've been listening, I know you understand it. For those of you who maybe have never heard this before, there's a few key concepts, which are number one and foremost is, can you eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full? Do you know when to eat? Do you know when to stop? And can you stop when your body gives you the signal to stop? And do you know the signal? Now, I will tell you, after working with hundreds of women, many women don't know those signals anymore because they've turned them off and they've relied on something external to try to help them lose the weight. So, of course, as soon as the weight's gone, that external hold is off and you go back to doing what you would prefer to do, which is not what you were doing to get there. So I think this holiday season, I would love to give you some tips on how to start the thinner peace process during the holidays, because of the holidays, starting with the idea that you can eat whatever you want. But what do you want? And can you use the day of Thanksgiving or whatever day, if you're celebrating it and you're with other people, or you're with yourself and you're celebrating with food, can you do it in a way that, number one, starts with, can you figure out your own hunger scale? Do you know when to eat? Do you know when to stop? And then I use a physical hunger scale of a -10 to a +10, with 10 being stuffed and -10 being starving, and ask you to learn your twos, which is to eat at a -2, which is the whisper of hunger, and stop at a +2, which is the whisper of fullness, which is really the way I think our bodies were intended. I just gave it numbers, but I feel like that's what our bodies have always been wired to stop us and start us. I just gave it numbers. And in the end, you don't have to use the numbers anymore because you'll go back to listening to your body, which is a great way to lose weight, is knowing when you're hungry and knowing when you're full. Do you think that you would like to stop doing that after you lose your weight? If the answer is yes, I want you to think about that, because I really think if you get there by learning your hunger signals, eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to want to stay there in that way, because it makes a lot of sense and it feels good. Now, I also talk about the idea of believing that you could eat whatever you want when you're eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. That does not mean that I think that you should be eating non-nutritious foods all the time, eating between the twos. I think that most of the time you should be eating nutritious foods, or what I call fuel foods, most of the time, And some of the time, you will be eating non-nutritious foods, foods that really we know have no value in your body. Your brain just loves it and loves the taste. And that, why not? I believe that you can do that if you do it with the idea that you can always have it again. Because I think what we do with joy foods is we tell ourselves, this is the last time I'm going to eat it. So we overeat it or we fog eat it in the thinner piece process labels. But really what we're doing is trying to get it all in because we're not going to eat it again, as opposed to the idea that, of course, I can have it again when I want to be mindful and when I really want to enjoy it. And you really start thinking about, when do I really want it? What do I really want? Is this really what I want to spend my enjoyment on right now? Or would I rather wait and have something else? It starts bringing up this concept of I can eat whatever I want, but what do I want? And also the concept of, in the end, what do you really deserve? I think that we all deserve beautiful, healthy foods for our body most of the time because that's what makes us feel best. Not that's what helps us lose weight. That's what helps us feel best. And it's interesting because I don't have weight to lose anymore, that it becomes more important to me. I just want to feel good. And I know that part of feeling good is what I put in my body, not to lose weight, but to feel good. And when we can start switching those concepts a little bit in our heads, like I'm not on and I'm not off. This is just the way I do it. This is the way I handle food, and I'm at peace with it. Being at peace with food is a very important concept, which means no food has any big pull on you. It's all just food, or in the Buddhist mentality, we are equanimous with all foods. Take them or leave them, it's okay. I really love that idea too, because in the end, it is just food. And then what do you really want? Now, if the way you get there is the way that you stay there, then this is my recommendation for this holiday week. And that is, number one, you plan to combine some joy and fuel meals together, meaning some non-nutritious foods and some fuel foods. And that no matter what, you eat between the twos. I think one of the things that happens during celebrations or holidays or being around a lot of people or being upset because you're not around a lot of people or whatever it is that's going on emotionally is that if you're used to filling up emotional holes, this may be a time when you're filling up more emotional holes with food than physical holes. So why don't you just be interested if that's the case? You may still do it, but you have an awareness that that is what you're doing. That's a great idea for this week, that no matter what you do, you just notice what you're doing. Are you leaving? Meaning, are you leaving the connection to your body because you don't want to see what's going on and you don't want to feel what's going on? If that's the case, that's what I did for about 30 years. I left and came back on January 1st, and I was all ready to start up again. And now it's just so nice because I'm already there and I've been there. And what I did to get there is what I've been doing all along. That is what I want for you. So start with knowing you could eat whatever you want during this holiday season, but you want to stay connected. You want to know how you're feeling, and you want to know if you're eating because you're not wanting to feel something, happy, mad, sad, glad, or you notice that you're just physically hungry. You notice eating between the twos. You notice if you're eating and you're too hungry, or you notice if you're not hungry, or you notice if you're too full. How full? If a +2 is what we're looking for, and you bring yourself to a +4, be curious about that. Is your brain saying something like, well, it's Thanksgiving. I don't do it that often. Therefore, it's like giving yourself permission to break the walls, giving yourself permission to break the connection to yourself. Why? This holiday season, decide to stay connected. How can you do that? By eating joy fuel meals on purpose. That means that it's a combination of nutritious and non-nutritious foods. The joy food is done more with the art of enjoyment, and the fuel eating is more with filling up the belly with nutritious food. And you combine it and you stay within the twos. I think that is a fantastic challenge to do for this week. Maybe there'll be some meals where they're totally fuel, eating between the twos. But give yourself the idea that as long as you eat between the twos, you can combine these joy fuel meals without fogging or storming. I would love for you to accept that challenge for this holiday week and know that if you do that, no matter what, if you're willing to become more curious about what you see when you don't like it, overeating, too much fogging, too many joy eats, you may see that, even though you're wanting to do what we're talking about right now. If you're willing to figure out, well, why did that happen? Not like, okay, let's just forget about it. We're going to start fresh and new, and I'm never going to do that again. Does not help you understand anything. So if you're willing to become more curious, if you're willing to have joy fuel meals, eating between the twos, and if you're willing to notice your feelings, if you're filling them or feeling them, is a good start. And no matter what you see, you just have compassion and you have understanding and you're willing to be equanimous. You're willing to learn how to become more equanimous with food, even if that's not the case today. But you're willing to and you're open to it. That's what I'm going to offer you today. And I want you to really think about this. Is the way you get there is the way that you stay there. So whatever tools you want to use, I really want you to think about, is this the way I can stay there? And if you notice that there may be some things that your brain says, I just can't do that, then maybe you can figure out something alternatively that may work better for you. Like, I don't have all the answers, but if you're willing to look at it and you like some of it, but you're not sure about the whole thing, maybe you want to tweak your numbers a little bit. Sometimes when I'm working with clients, we always start with eating between the twos, but those numbers sometimes change. Sometimes people realize that +2, that they're better off at a +3, yet they can still have some weight loss and it feels better to them and they can still get what they want. So they tweak their numbers a little bit. Once you understand your body connections better, you can become more flexible with yourself too, as long as you believe the way you get there is the way that you want to stay there. And if the things that I'm talking about in my podcast resonate with you and make sense with you, then I think this may be a good peace plan for you. And a great time to start is today. What can you do today? You can start with, don't eat until you're a -2. Stop when you believe it's a +2. That's all. Would you like to pick up a journal and start writing down some of the foods that you're eating and add physical hunger scale to it before and after? Might be a good time to start. You can always get my food journals by going to drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE, and you can get my little booklet that kind of talks about my main piece tools that I use to get you going on the program. So I want you to have a beautiful beginning of the holiday season. Thanksgiving is all about gratitude. I'm sure you have plenty to be grateful for. And if you can't think of anything, please come up with just one thing. It's a beginning. And maybe this is the time where you decide that you want to be more connected to your body than ever, and you're willing to look at it and you're willing to be curious about it. And as always, I would never end this podcast without saying to you, no matter where you go or what you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com change. CHANGE.